Facebook now.
Let's do it.
Yeah, so hello everybody. I'm Alex Landry, video host for the National Health Federation. It's 10:24 p.m., January 4th, and I am elated for our special guest, the one and only Mikki Willis. How you doing, Mikki?
I'm fantastic, Alex. How are you doing?
I'm doing great as well. Like I mentioned, thank you so much for your patience. And, you know, today's a busy day for a lot of us, but I'd love to hear what you were up to today. I recently watched your interview with Mike Adams, and if I heard correctly, you started a documentary today called The American Family.
That's right. We actually leave tomorrow morning, or tomorrow afternoon, I should say, for DC, where we'll cover the march there and the Freedom Rally to find out, really, to get the pulse of America and where they are right now in this incredibly precarious time that we're all experiencing together. And so we did officially start pre-production as of yesterday and today on the next movie, which is, as you mentioned, tentatively called right now, The American Family. It will likely change because I want to be more inclusive, because the subject matter really targets the entire world, not just America. But in short, the intention of the project is to stop the indoctrination of our children worldwide.
That's amazing, because it segues perfectly from pandemic indoctrination. So
it's felt like the most natural progression to me, because, you know, really the reason that I do everything that I do is really for the kids, for my kids, and for all the kids, and for the future generations. That's the thing that motivates me. And you know, after digging in and doing so much deep research with an incredible research team to make Plandemic 1 and 2, we also, you know, excavated a bunch of really disturbing information regarding the way that our curriculums are being infiltrated by a lot of groups that are posing as benevolent and wonderful, with all, you know, wonderfully branded titles, but they're really seeking to get into the minds of our young ones and ultimately turn them into little self-hating, country-hating radicals that will no doubt you know, will destroy their lives and our lives. So it's something that has to stop, and we can get into that in more detail in this interview, I hope.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for your time with such an important project. And I'm a little curious about the timetable for this video, just because I know in pandemic indoctrination, it must have broke a record or something. I mean, you accomplished in 3 months what takes most crews a couple years, 3 years. So similar timetable for this, or a little more?
We'll give ourselves a little bit more time for this one. You know, because of the urgency of the pandemic, we rushed and had Plandemic, the full-length one, produced and completed in 3.5 months, which is, I've personally, 30-some years, I've been a filmmaker, or at least in the entertainment business, and I've never heard of that. Most documentaries take a minimum of a year, but it's not uncommon for a documentary to take 3 to 5 years. And but we really rushed it together, and I really credit my team, really incredible, razor-sharp precision team that allowed us to do the impossible and make a high-quality production in such a short period of time. But this time we'll take at least 6 months for this one.
Great. Well, right now this is broadcasting through our NHF Facebook page. So there's a lot of NHF members all throughout the country and around the world, and some have, you know, donated, and, you know, specifically to Plandemic. So I just figured I'd make a quick little shout out about it's a great opportunity right now to contribute to the Plandemic crew, and our 501c3 arm of the National Health Federation is the Foundation for Health Research, and those are all tax-deductible donations. And right now, it's basically around a minimum $100 donation, just due to all the different administrative fee and time it takes, you know, to process those donations. But there is a link down below this video for that.
I would also like to take the time to say thank you to anyone who's watching this right now that did contribute in any way, a dollar or whatever it was, to any of the pandemics. It's really important that the people understand that the only way that I was able to produce a high quality film as Plandemic, with so much research, with an incredible staff of 8 to 12 top researchers, to create a bulletproof, honest piece of media like that, and to give it away for free, and not even turn ads on, and to not be in that position where we had to actually recoup our money from the public, because it was all donation based. And that's one of the key reasons that the film reached the world. Plandemic 1 has been seen by well over 1 billion people. Plandemic 2, much longer movie, and of course, much more heavily censored. They were waiting for us to release the second one, but it's still well over 100 million views on that, which is, both of those are world records. It saw almost 2 million, 1.9 something and change views for the live stream, the premiere of the movie itself, and that too is a world record. And none of that would be possible without the generous support of the citizens, the people-powered distribution, for not only donating, but also being the ones that spread this movie around the world. And people took it upon themselves to translate it into various languages. We did about 12 languages on our own, but it's well over 20 some odd languages now. And so to the citizens of this planet, to the people that are listening to this right now that made that possible, I wish you could experience what I'm experiencing when I go and I meet with the public live, and I'm able to have doctors crying in my arms that are finally realized the incredible tyranny that has placed a stranglehold upon their career, and has kept them from serving their oath to do no harm, to the parents who have children who have been harmed by vaccines. The amount of appreciation that I've received, I wish I could share it with all of you. And I guess in some small way, I'm doing that now, because you deserve it. Because without your help, that movie would not be what it is, and have had the impact that it has. So thank you to all the people watching this.
Thank you very much, Mikki. And just to have it come full circle, so what I learned from the Mike Adams interview is you were working originally before Plandemic on a documentary called The Narrative?
Correct. Yeah, I was deeply involved many months into a movie called The Narrative, which was to expose the mainstream media. After 34 years playing in and around Hollywood, which I departed from that machinery shortly after I was at the World Trade Center in 2001, and that was when I had a massive personal awakening and decided I wanted out of Hollywood, and I couldn't play the game anymore. But years later, after having put together all of the pieces of the puzzle that I accumulated through my years of working professionally in and around Hollywood and mainstream media, I felt that it was time that somebody pulled back the curtain on that system, because as we all see right now, how incredibly corrupt and crooked and even, I would say, wicked that whole industry is. And so we started to make a movie with top whistleblowers, and I was deeply into that process and had interviewed 20 some odd people when the pandemic was declared, and I pushed that movie aside, and I added elements of that, actually, like my whole piece of the media expose within Plandemic was originally created for, or at least slated for, The Narrative, but I pushed that aside and started focusing on Plandemic, and we're going to incorporate more pieces of that narrative puzzle into American Family, and go deeper into our expose of what's really going on and who owns the media and who controls the narrative. Because as Plato said, those who control the narrative rule society. And so we are in a battle for the narrative, as most citizens have finally discovered just in these past brutal months.
Well, very eloquently said, and thank you for the overview, because now I'm wondering how Plandemic the musical fits into all of this. When I heard that, I've been hearing some musicals recently, and I can't help but just reflect on how Free Energy. I mean, that was one of my favorite music videos 10 years ago. I'm 30 now. When I was 20, I was jamming to that and, you know, studying with the Resonance Project. And here we are. And I can see the whole Plandemic musical and just your whole creativity and how you're utilizing that for the good of all. So
for those who don't know, Free Energy was a music video we did with a band called the Luminaries to really get the information out to the world of what happened regarding free energy and how it's been kept from the world. We were doing a whole series of music videos that also allowed us to share very, very important information through the magic of music and the power of music. And so we're doing a very similar thing with Plandemic the musical. Comedy is one of the most amazing chasers that allow us to intake information that we otherwise might find too bitter. And so I'm working with some really brilliant people. I have a background in musical theater, and this actually happened on Thanksgiving. We were at, a lot of the viewers here will know who Del Bigtree is, the host of Highwire and one of my best friends. And we were all at Del Bigtree's house on Thanksgiving. And we were singing songs. I had a friend who writes tunes for Disney. His name is Deepak, and he's just this incredibly talented young man. And so we were goofing around doing cover tunes, and then we started to sing Plandemic songs. And someone from the crowd said something about, oh, well, you know, Plandemic the musical. Somebody just mentioned that phrase, and I said, stop everything. Hold on. Wait a second. We're gonna do that. Let's do that. Oh my God, there's what better way to take this to the next level. So I hired the amazing JP Sears, and he's one of the writers on it, and David Martin, who is the lead host speaker in Plandemic 2, and some other really, truly incredibly gifted people. And that will be written as we're producing American Families, so that as soon as American Family is out in the world, we'll go into the production of Plandemic the musical.
Wow. So exciting. It's very, very exciting. Well, so tomorrow you're heading to DC and you're all ready for that. So what's the exact event tomorrow? I know there's a Fauci event that's happening, but I think that's like a live stream, but with Bobby Kennedy and a few others, and
a few others. Yeah, that's a whole separate event. But I'm glad that's happening because we need to. The event is called Focus on Fauci, and it's time we focus on Fauci indeed. But we're going out to. I'm taking a couple of amazing journalists with me. I'm taking my friend Laura Logan and Ben Swan, two of the most incredible journalists left standing out there in the world, and both have left mainstream media for their unwillingness to play the game. And Ben and I are now in partnership building a new digital platform, and Laura's become a very good friend of mine since I've moved to Texas here, and so we're gonna arrive together and record. It's a historic event, really, and so it from as you know a non-biased standpoint, we're just going to capture what's there. And I'm mostly focused on the health freedom aspect of. There's a lot of doctors, a lot of frontline doctors that will be there, so we'll do some interviews. I'm also speaking on one of the main stages, and then we'll see what we can capture. Already there's a lot of, the day before or 2 days before the big event, there's already, a lot of things happening there, arrests happening and National Guard being deployed. And so it is without doubt going to be probably a very wild and crazy experience. And I hope that it remains peaceful and that we can, bring back some semblance of sanity and clarity for our nation, regardless of what side of the political spectrum anyone lands on, just to really bring some balance back to our very topsy-turvy nation. That's what I'm hoping can occur by an assembly of they're expecting 1 to 2 point some million people. So
wow.
It's quite extraordinary.
Yeah, someone will be live streaming it possibly, so those.
Oh, I'm sure. Many people.
Wow. Well, I'm just thinking now, I'm not sure if at some point I really wanted to hear your perspective on the near future when it comes to community and permaculture. And I heard a little bit about how it seems like that is the direction you're moving into, possibly.
Yeah, and I understand you have a background in permaculture too, which is fantastic. So yeah, since we've moved, we escaped California. We were part of the big exodus to Texas, and it's been an incredible experience here. The community here is, it's a very diverse community. There's people on both ends of the political spectrum. We're outside of Austin, but I have to say that the level of fear is a lot less than it is from the area that we just departed from, and that in itself is wonderful, because we just didn't want to raise our children. We have a 6-year-old and a 9-year-old boy, and we didn't want to raise them around the hysteria and terrorism that's taking place in so many other cities and counties and states. And so we packed up, my wife and I and our 2 kids, and we headed to Texas about almost 4 months ago now. And it's been a really incredible move. And in that time, we have linked up with a bunch of friends, people that we've known for a number of years, who also made the exodus here. And we created a project together where we are in the process of purchasing several hundred acres of land, and where somewhere between 50 to 80 families will build sustainable homes together, grow our own food, have our own water supply, and even our own education system. Because that's one of the many cool things that have happened as a result of pandemic, was there was some new schools have been started, actually, because of the movie, and my kids attend one of those schools now. Parents who didn't want to partake in the having children become terrorized that their schoolmates are diseased and dangerous, and having teachers try to communicate to them through masks and face shields and all of that unnecessary protocol. And so a bunch of families broke off of a Waldorf school and formed their own school with some Waldorf educated teachers and others. And it's been an incredible experience to have our children with this community. So that community and an expanded community, we're now getting really serious about our future together. And the ultimate goal, both of this project and of my next movie, is sovereign citizenry, really teaching the world how to become sovereign, so that we can end this dependency upon our government that has now shown itself to be tyrannical. It's time for us to depart and divorce from our government and strip its power away, as it's trying to strip our power and liberties away right now.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of children, how are your children doing with regards to the move and finding new friends, like, despite everything happening? So I hope it's
my kids are awesome. They blow me away every single day. I'm so grateful for these little men. They have very unique personalities, yet they're best friends. They're inseparable. And we've been through a lot in the last few years. We lost our home, our studio, even a car in the Thomas fires of California, and everything we owned. We escaped with our pajamas on, and I thought that would be tough on our children, and it was tougher on my wife and I than it was on them. They were a constant reminder. Short story is, we took them up to the property because I thought, well, they probably don't fully understand what happened, so we need to take them there for closure. And their response was, as soon as they saw our, what was an 8,000 square foot home that was now reduced to dust, is, cool. Can we check it out? And they just have been that way ever since. It's just like a new experience. When I said, hey, buddy, you guys understand that, like, this was the playroom, so you understand that everything you own is gone, right? And my 9-year-old looks at me and he goes, "We can rebuild, Daddy." I was like, all right. And so this whole trip, we hopped in a van, and we still had a place in LA. I still have an office there that I'm renting out. And we hopped in a van to do a road trip, just to travel around and check out other states to see who's doing better, because it's, not doing so well in where we were in Ventura County in Los Angeles. And we got, our first stop was outside of Austin to see a bunch of friends, and we just stayed. And our kids were like, okay, sure, meet new friends, and they're just very resilient and adaptable, and and they're just happy all day long. We've done something right. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but thank God, because they're awesome little humans. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, you're welcome. Well, they have two great teachers, you and your wonderful wife. So I mean, that's good.
And they're actual teachers now too, so that are so wonderful, and all the community of families that are nurturing this school is also, it's really truly a village. So I can't take full credit, neither can my wife. We have awesome people around them.
Well, what an experience they'll get to have growing up, with all of that. So, well, a little spoiler alert, or I think you may have heard this, the NHF, we're actually looking for a new location for our office. And
I know.
the rumor may be there may be a place in Austin. I'm over here in like the Tampa Bay area, just north of Clearwater. So we're just kind of like, feeling out these states, Texas, Florida, seem to be pretty high up there with our, decision making. But you never know.
I can't recommend this part of Texas any higher. It's been, we came from a really awesome, loving community in Southern California, where I was born and raised. I was born in Sacramento, and then I moved to Los Angeles when I was 19. And we had an incredible community. But already in this short period of time, I have to say that the quality of people that we're associating with, the amount of loyalty. Loyalty is a really important thing to me. And I particularly since pandemic, I had so many friends that proved themselves to be disloyal and fragile, and I've had a lot of people ask me, if I've lost friends because of pandemic, and I typically say not one, but I've lost a lot of people that were posing as my friends. Mm-hmm. But there's like the salt of the earth kind of Texas heart here, where the people, they do what they say they're going to do. They really care. They got your back. And you don't have to agree with them. You can have a different ideologies and political beliefs and all of that. If you're a human and you're a good person and you care about family, and you have some relation to whatever the name of the creator you choose, just very simple foundational principles that they live on here, and it's kind of left them as very simple, true people. And I've really grown after years in Hollywood. I've really grown to need that and respect that. And so I couldn't recommend this place any higher for you guys to relocate to.
Wow. Well, thanks for that. And by any chance, is there a particular agri-hood or anything that you've personally experienced, whether it's in Texas or another state, like an actual master planned agri-hood where it's not necessarily completely off the grid per se, but there's quite an amount of these agri-hoods now. So I'm not sure if there's one near you already.
I haven't explored any other than the one that we're creating. And so that one is, we really bring in the top experts to help us with, every possible way that we can work with the land and be a plus to the land and not a minus to the land, to be creative and not consuming everything in our site, to have, protected water source and power source and security, because the one thing that is very critical for us to raise our children with these days, especially in a world that is so uncertain, is safety. Our children have to feel safe, and there's so many kids that don't feel safe, and the damage that happens as a result of that is kind of heartbreaking. And so our focus, all the parents, a lot of mama bears and papa bears that are fierce. And they're one of the main objectives really is to make sure that we have an environment that is supportive of their free expression and their safety.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. I'm just getting so inspired, hearing all of this. And now I'm kind of, I don't want to put you on the spot, but it may be some of your most cherished quotes, when you just think about the meaning of life or the purpose, or, just little tidbits or, little insights, that you'd like to maybe share, or a certain book you recommend, or I'm not too sure.
Well,
something like that.
No, I appreciate the general opportunity to offer what I can. What comes to me is that we have been severed from the source of nature. And it's been an intentional doing by design for decades and generations, that we have been intentionally severed from the power of our planet, the love for our planet, the experience of I always call it the broadcast of nature. There's something coming through all the plant life and animal life that they're in tune to, that humans have disconnected from. And the reason for that is because the greedy people who own the patents, who want us to be dependent upon synthetic medicines and cheap fast foods and that ultimately want us sick, because then we become lifelong customers. One of the most important things we can do right now for our children and for ourselves is to reconnect with nature. To in such a busy world, we need to take time to be still. There's a reason that all of the more evolved communities and cultures often talk about meditation. Like we need to take time to be able to listen to that inner guidance that comes through us, because the outer guidance, the guru, even me speaking right now, it's like I when I created Plandemic Indoctrination, I had so much pressure on me to create a call to action at the end of the movie. And I said, no, because I don't want to tell people what to do. I want to inspire them, and I want to remind them. That's why if you do see the movie, you'll understand why I ended it the way I did. I want to remind them that they are the hero, that they're the ones they've been waiting for. And we've had that taken, stripped away from us, such that we feel like, our intuition, our instincts, we don't rely on that anymore. We don't listen to the infinite intelligence that is constantly there for us, the same intelligence that informs flocks of thousands of birds to turn on a dime with each other and fly in sync. We're just bumping into each other all over the place, and that again is by design, because there are people within this crooked democracy that want us to believe that we are incomplete and that we are less than, and therefore we need to hire them, vote for them, empower them to then save us. And that era has got to end right now. We have to take our lives, the reins of our lives, into our own hands, and teach our children. And regardless of how busy our lives are, we have to remember that our medicine is our food, and our food is our medicine. And we must, and everything that we say to our children, everything they absorb right now, there's such a challenge with kids being addicted to screens, especially during this pandemic, when all they've had to do was just sit at home, and so we're really running into a major issue with that distraction of technology. And so we have to find some way to come back into nature and to unplug, spend time, go on hikes, and be with each other, and focus on relationships, on people, and listen to each other again, because it's one thing that we've just forgotten how to do, is, again, by design, to just listen to each other. And that's the way we grow. That's the way that we evolve. But again, the powers that be, the wicked ones, they don't want us to grow and evolve, because when we do, we become sovereign, and suddenly their BS doesn't work. And so that's what I have to share right now with people, is to just to really don't forget about nature. It's what gives us life, and it's what will save us and rescue us from this situation that we are destined to be victorious in. That's the other thing I want you to know, is that if you look at the history of all mythologies, if you study all the stories that we've been telling ourselves as humans since the cradle of civilization, they all have very common threads through them. And there's always a very dramatic crescendo when it appears that the hero is doomed, defeated. But every story worth remembering, every iconic story, ends with the hero remembering that they are the one, that the force is within. And that's you. That's not me. It's me for me, but it's you for you and for your family. And so this is the moment when the hero rises, which is us, the people, and defeats the dragon. And there's no doubt in my mind that we are going to win this battle. but it might get fiery, and it might get exciting, and it might get dramatic, and it might get scary. But hang in there, and hang in there together. We cannot allow them to divide us, because together we stand, divided we fall.
Wow. I'm just letting that all sink in. And may I add just two things?
I can't hear you, Alex.
Oh, may I add just two things to what can you hear me okay?
Are you on mute?
I'm not on mute, no. There at one point your headphones went in and out, but I'll just wait till you can hear me again. You can't hear me? Give you a second. Yeah, can you hear me now? All good? Yeah, I'm not muted. I can hear you. We good now?
There we go.
Okay, cool. So I was just gonna add two things to that powerful download that you just shared with us all. So the first is, and I'm sure you know this, the Dalai Lama's mentioned how if every child learned meditation, we would eliminate violence in one generation. So that to me is just a very powerful insight. And then the other is, if you're familiar with Rupert Sheldrake's work and morphic resonance, I think you would love it.
Morphic resonance.
Yeah, morphic resonance gets into the morphogenetic fields, the invisible energetic fields that govern biological systems. And so it actually gets into things like the 100th monkey, and how, like, if we reach a certain critical mass, which could just be 0.01% of us on a certain wavelength, a certain behavior, it just becomes automatic. And this gets into like the foundation of the Thrive movement, like Barbara Marx Hubbard, how we can spontaneously evolve, and all of this latent potential, this creative expression we all have within us when we're aligned with the one. So I think you would love Rupert Sheldrake a lot. Yeah, because he gets into the mind of nature. Well, thank you, Mikki. Well, you're an extremely busy person, an extremely productive father, husband, member of society, trailblazer, helping, doing your best to be thriving. So even though I would love to spend more time with you, I think it's best for you to be with your family and prepare for your important day tomorrow. So thank you very much. And, if you have a...
Thank you, Alex. Thank you. And I just want to say before we go, I want to give great gratitude to NHF. Your organization really, really was the key for us, and we could not have done what we achieved without the help from NHF. And so for the people that are out there, what I would say, even before you donate to anything of mine, please consider supporting this incredible organization, because what I can tell you is we had a lot of opportunities and a lot of options of who we were going to partner with when it came to producing the Plandemic series and our next movie. And we chose very carefully this organization because of your long-standing history of doing really great work, very integral work. And all I can say is that yourself, Scott, Kat, everyone that we have interfaced with has been so incredibly helpful and honest and sweet and kind and compassionate. And so just keep up the good work, you guys. It just really gives me a bit of relief to know that you guys exist in the world. And I'm looking forward to a very long and prosperous and impactful partnership with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mikki. All right. Well, have a great rest of your night, and,
thank you.
Crush tomorrow and the rest of the week, and I'm sure we'll be in touch. Thank you.
Till next time.
Till next time. Bye, everybody.